we are back, and I am with my dear friend Chris. Welcome to Bark After Dark, Chris. It has been too long, my friend. How are you?
Doing awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having us on. We're going to be
Hi, the
talking a
internet.
lot about some fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
Exciting.
It's me, Cameron, from earlier. You may recognize both of us from Mothership Month, the thing that's going on right now on Backerkit. I have the delightful pleasure of being here with Chris Eyre of 5 Million Worlds Publishing, who has created an incredible companion for Mothership RPG called Not Enough Scoundrels, a compendium of the very worst people the underbelly of the universe has to offer. And here he is. Look, it's Chris. The that stuff's why am I talking so fast? We've got plenty of time to talk about all these things. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, doing all right. I'd also just want to thank everybody so much for this massive outpour for Mothership Month. Like we were just talking about this a minute ago. Sean was telling us from the beginning, it's kind of a risk. You're the ones taking the big risk, the third-party publishers. So we're going to help you out and help out. He did, and I think everyone's ecstatic with how well this has been going, and just super grateful for all the backers and all the people out there who are interested in what we're working on. It feels great.
It's bananas. I've said this every stream now, but I can't fathom just how well it's all doing, and so it's been really exciting to see them take off. I think all of us were sitting sort of on the edge of our seats going, wow, hope this juice is worth the squeeze, and now we are covered in juice, which is not, I think, the correct extension of that metaphor, but it's okay. We'll edit this out on the live interview, I think. User DNiv says, my wallet is not ecstatic. I am, however. Right back at you. Me too. It's been tough.
Yeah,
I cut myself off
yeah,
after backing 10 of them, but I know some of these third-party publishers have
yeah.
backed all 21, or I guess all
Yeah, I got
20.
PDFs,
Yeah.
so I got a lot of
Whew, that's the
PDFs. I'm in
move, right?
France, so like also I get hit with those custom taxes, and you're just like trying not to cry the whole time. But it's such cool stuff too. So it's rough. It's rough, and I'm a Mothership fanatic as well. So like I
Mm.
make this stuff, but I'm also crazy about it. I have everything. It's dumb, but I love it.
That's one of my
Oh.
favorite things. Oh, quick streamer type things. What up, Jason? The Jason was on the crew for our new actual play that's coming up this month of Dog Eat Dog, the companion to the module that we're selling on Backerkit. The Panic Table's back at it again, and Jason was an indispensable member of that. So hey, man, good to see you in the chat. You sly dog. Bryce says one might say the juice is loose. I completely agree. Chris, one thing that I love about Mothership RPG is the community. It's been so cool
Mhm.
showing up just kind of like a weirdo with an actual play show that goes way too hard, and being like, hello, please include me, and for all of the third party publishers to say absolutely. We just kind of hit
Yeah.
it off lickety split, and we met for the first
Mhm.
time at Gen Con, which was surreal,
FinCon.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot
uh
of fun. Yeah, I was
it
out there
was.
hawking zines or
We
slinging zines, I guess is what
slinging
Adam Bass
zines,
has told me.
twanging them around.
Slinging zines. That was a
Oh,
lot of fun. Yeah, it was really cool. We just got to meet a few people there. I met the folks who made The Ship is a Tomb as well. Ran into those guys, and that was really cool. It was really neat. I'm actually like, so I live in France, right?
mm.
And I've lived here for like
Chris, do
practically
you
my
live
whole
in
adult
France? I
life.
don't know if you've mentioned that yet.
Yeah, well, I live here, but I was born in Indiana, so like a
Right.
stone's throw away from Gen Con, and I'd never been until this year. So,
Mm.
like, I thought that's just funny too. I'm like, man, all this stuff has been like really close to me this whole time, and I never realized
That's
like this
so
would go.
convenient.
But
Oh, that's right. You were able to just pop home, weren't you? Mm,
yeah, exactly. I had
yeah.
to rent a car and pass my driver's license again, all that kind of stuff. But
Oh man, that's wild. So we can't expect you stateside again until next year. Is that?
well, it depends. There's
We'll
so
see.
much
Yeah,
stuff.
this
Oh.
that's what this show is about, is your travel schedule. I know a lot of us, if any other party publishers are here in the chat, we're headed to PAX U in just a couple weeks, so I'm excited to bump into more of you creeps. It's been really wonderful saying hello. to all of those. Also, you know what I would love to do more of? And Chris, I think we talked about this. There's this really cool Discord that Sean set up behind the scenes, so all of us at Mothership Month can kind of compare and contrast best practices and send each other foot pics. But in the midst of that, we are talking about getting some games going this month before Mothership Month is running out. So
Yeah.
I'm
I would love to. I gotta run it by Eric, but I would love to run Johnson Squared. I did some playtests for that one already. But that one, it could definitely be a really tight, like 2-hour game, and that would be a lot of fun.
Well, and it seems
Yeah,
appropriate.
I'm very good at
2
like.
hours.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also run like a maniac, so I've been playing like a weekly Mothership game, well, almost weekly Mothership game for like almost 2 years now.
I'm so jealous.
More than that, I don't know, but it's online, so I mean, it's easier to get people together. I feel like than in real life, but I've kind of like honed that like two and a half hour game down like pretty well. I feel like
that rocks.
I'm also maniac.
Probably one of the hardest things for me is that like outside of the show, I barely get to play any games. Like I have no time, and so it's I think insane. Usually it's the other way around, right? You DM for a long time and then maybe you start a show, but instead I was like, let's just start a show and hope I get good at DMing, and that was insane. Speaking of insane, too many scoundrels or not enough. I suppose that's the question.
Not enough. Right.
Go ahead and hit us with the elevator pitch for it, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So Not Enough Scoundrels. It's a space trucker and smuggler module, right? So part of it is a ship type supplement. So there's 8 new ship types, and there's going to be as well the other part as like a campaign framework and toolbox to run these mothership like between the horrors, right? So there's this kind of central mechanic to that is the space crawl procedure. And it's already in like the Shipbreaker's Toolkit, which you get with the Mothership box set. You have a lot of these really, really straightforward, easy to grok procedures. Like for 1 month travel is 1 fuel, a warp core costs this much. Here's the distances. It's very easy to figure out, and this slots right into that. To where like every fuel you spend as you're traveling, you roll the void event, and it's a D100 table of not fun stuff, right? I mean, sometimes it's okay, but it's not fun stuff. It's just like the stress of like dealing with like living on a spaceship that's traveling through the void, right? And some of these are terrible, and it's Mothership, and you get into the 90s, you're not looking at fun stuff, but dealing with space cops and distress signals. Ooh. So
that's cool. So
and then the other part of that is getting into the station.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk right over you. Getting into the other part. Keep going. I'll ask my questions afterwards.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was talking a long time anyway. But yeah, the other part is getting to the station. So getting into the station, and you're like going to do your trades and stuff. And so what's going to happen as you come into the station? What's the traffic conditions like? So I have a friend who was actually a semi-truck driver for a few years. He's in cybersecurity now, hilariously, but he was a semi-truck driver for a little while. And so I talked to him a lot about like what the most stressful part of the job was, and just kind of like just feed this module. So there's a lot of things I got into there about like his experience as like what made his job really hard. And I'm just trying to put those in this as well to kind of like inject that stress that's not necessarily a horror in Mothership, but still kind of horrifying.
Well, yeah, it's an essential opponent. It is an essential component to the whole experience, right? Like this is something that keeps coming up in each of the streams as we talk about structuring fun adventures while playing Mothership. But it can't always be the bubblegum machine is chasing us. That's never what it is. What am I talking about? But like, there's always something with teeth as everybody like rushes to do, Alien. But it's those external factors. It's the corporate pressure. Mm-hmm. It's the suffering through the vicissitudes of life in the vacuum. And I think Sean was personally thrilled to see finally there's more structure specifically to trucking in space. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something I enjoy, and it's been a lot
Mm.
of fun like playing with the groups as well, just to see like how these little itty bitty things can inject quite a lot of tension into a session.
Ooh, Waco Matrixo's in the chat. He says, "Hello, Chris. Love the hat." Hey, Waco. It's good to
Yes.
see you. Yeah, check it out. Waco is he dear friend, incredible animator. Check out his YouTube channel. We have been dreaming of collaborating. He just congratulations on Gas Gas Gas, Waco. If you haven't seen that, this is just you're getting plugged, bud. Now that you're here, we're gonna plug you real good. And I'm regretting saying that immediately. We also used Waco's convict class in Dog Eat Dog. So that was really thrilling and super fun to implement
Mhm.
in our prison campaign setting. So hey, baby, good to see you. Uh, hey, Chris, I'm gonna slap you with a question right here already. D Nivs chimes in again and says, "You mentioned the expanded ship types, and it made me think it could combine really well with Bucket of Bolts for the backstory of the ship. I'm realizing now as I'm reading this is not a question, it's a statement, but it's a good observation."
Okay.
I do have a question to branch off of that, Chris. Uh,
Sure.
One of the kind of talking about adventure structure and how such a thing unfolds. So often when you're thinking about Mothership, I think a lot of people's primary experience is one shots and we need to reenact insert favorite sci-fi franchise here as quickly as possible. But you seem like a person who has a lot of experience with void crawling, with ship to ship issues and structures. What goes into how you think about adventures after the first session?
Well, I'm running a like an Outer Rim Marches campaign right
Mm,
now, so it is still very much in that one shot land, but with that thread of continuity that comes with it, right? So it's for me like the big thing about okay, after this first session's over, what's next is where you want to go.
right.
You know, here's a star chart that you just got off that dead body. Where do you want to go? You know, you get to the place, you got to scan the place, you got to go close. Where do you want to check out? You know, just seeing what the players are going to be interested in and creating strange things that
Mm,
are enticing that might be nice salvage, it might be a trap, it might be an alien artifact. You know, you never know what it's going to be. But that's worked out pretty well. We did a void crawl through like an expanded version of like the public sector. This was probably about a month ago now. And it was just like, all right, so these are the planets that are here. What do you want to do? This planet has some sort of weird gravity anomaly. You want to go over there? They're like, fuck that. No, like, we do not want to go near that. That's a trap. Fuck you, Chris. No way. It's like, what are you talking about? You never
no,
know
thank
until
you.
you go see. Yeah. So I think yeah, it's just like giving players a lot of choice has
Hmm.
always been something that's been very vital to uh, how I started writing. You know, and I'm not started been writing for a very long time. You know, I've just been listening to a lot of podcasts and listening to a lot of advice from people. Like you said, I'm a weirdo here from the AP scene. I was a weirdo that just showed up from nowhere. You know, and all these people welcomed me in and shared all these resources with me, and I dutifully read those things and looked into it and trying to like get on their level, right? That's it. I'm just trying to really do really well like everyone else is in this scene. And I think that is really what propels this community is everyone's trying to do really well. And they're not just
Right.
trying to like create something like, the next, the next like sequel or whatever, here's Alien Resurrection, like they're trying to do something that's actually um, gives new experiences to the players, that's beautiful to look at, that's going to be useful at the table, and all of these things. And I think that's why Mothership has been doing so well for so long.
You ooh, whoa, Meat Castle in the house. Hello. This is exciting.
Hey,
Everybody cool is in the chat tonight. I'm digging that. Also, thanks for the sweet words, Bryce. As we go in, he says the best part of Mothership community is how you really can just be some rando who wants to make it, and everyone will really, really help you. It's not a competition, except between
it's
us and
true.
Nobody Wake the Bugbear podcast. If you're listening, we're coming for you. The Australians I like to view as our like slightly cooler, much more practiced cousins in the field, and they show up for
It's
Thanksgiving and they already have a
hilarious.
job and a car. Yeah, but they're
You and
great.
Andrew are both workaholics. It's hilarious. Like very
They
much
work
like the same
so
type.
hard. Yeah, the volume of stuff they
You, I
manage to put
mean,
out blows my mind. Uh, But yeah, good to see you, Meat Castle. Oh, Toothed is in the chat. I'll quit celebrating this. I'm just so glad to see you all here. This is really cool. Um, yeah, speaking of that, slice of life is, I think, something that you have captured really well as I've looked through the manuscript you sent over here. And also, that thing's huge! If you printed it out, you could smack someone and kill them with it. There's so much content. It's really exciting to see what you've got coming down the pipe. I would love for you to zoom in a little bit as far as Not Enough Scoundrels goes, and tell us more just about what you can expect in other pieces. You've got the trucker life aspect, you've got the ship editions. Tell us about the Scoundrels themselves.
Yeah, so the scoundrels themselves, there's two parts there. There's the meaty, like huge spread of 100 scoundrels, right? The 100 table. I believe one of them is going to be in Dog Eat Dog, isn't that right? Fetch?
That's
Isn't
right.
Fetch going to show up? Right?
Yeah. Should I pitch
I found
in?
a place for Fetch.
Yeah. Well, no,
Have
you gave
found
me a
place
list of
for Fetcher?
NPCs you wanted to share, and I was like, one of them is named Fetch, and I'm running a dog campaign. This is incredible. So of course that guy is going straight to Red Fern Kennel Club. I think just continuing to pitch your thing before I give the ball back to you. It's so cool what you're bringing to the space, literally and figuratively, because these other projects. I was talking with the Iron Hive, a really fabulous campaign setting or nest for the criminal underbelly, and then Straight Arrows and the Panic Table have created prisons. So there's this natural progression of where people can wind up based on consequences and choice and all these marvelous things. So I just love how this is turning out, and I absolutely plan on imprisoning Fetch in our book as well because of whatever he did. But yeah, throwing the ball back to you. Keep telling us about your NPCs.
Yeah, so there's the big table of NPCs, which is like an NPC name, and you have like a quote of like it kind of gives you the flavor of the character. And then as well, there are for each ship type, there's a crew. And in the crew, there's like one NPC that stands out among all of them. It's just like the captain or the person you're going to contact the most or the weirdo on the ship. And those are the other scoundrels that are going to be illustrated by Learn
Ship
Noise,
weirdos.
who's also doing. Yeah, they're the weird. There's one guy who's just the ship weirdo, and it's nothing to do with the captain. He's just the weirdo on the ship. But Learn Noise is going to be illustrating those, and she's also doing the cover for Devil's Due, which you may have.
It's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so there's those scoundrels who show up in the text, and then we also have like the ship types, and the ship types are kind of like split between like these long distance ones and like normal freighter ships. Excuse me, sorry about that. And the main idea I had there was that like there's going to be like very much like these are your trucker ships, and then there's the black marketeer kind of smuggler ships. They're like, yeah, we go really far and really fast. You know, it's normal that we have all this weird stuff that you've never seen the language of before. Don't worry about it. And then there's a couple of space cop ships. Those space cops are universal
Space
allies.
cops?
Is what the universal allies. Yeah, you know, corrupt space cops. Was that? That's
Right
like
on.
a redundant phrase, isn't it? And so they're the assholes, and those are actually going to be linked as well. It's a little Easter egg. I'm peppering lots of Easter eggs with some other designers as well. They're linked to another faction in another zine.
That's so exciting.
So if people want to use it, I think.
Well, it's so cool. I think my other favorite thing about running a loose fitting system like Mothership is that you just get to cherry pick all of the things. I mean, that's true of RPGs. No one's there with a gun to your head saying no, include the canonical things, except for fans themselves, of course. But there is no canon, right? There's just these touch points across the galaxy of things that can mishmash together. So I'm just thrilled to see where they pop up. I was talking about this in the last stream, but for our AP, shout out to Marco Serrano if you're out there. Sensei, it's so good to sit at your feet and learn. But Spicy Tuna Gameware, he recently produced this incredible supplementary material for a company called Yucatan Tech Co., which is just like a Latin-themed arms dealer. And I loved it so much that one of our players was like, hey, can I have that like tattooed on my neck? So the Yucatan logo is on that for the show. impermanently, but yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they show up in Dog Eat Dog as well with some of their technology, so I'm excited about
Yeah.
that. Here's a question for you on all of this theme. You've developed stuff that's really great for filling in the gaps. Just you're like, oh, okay, hey, the time bomb's not about to go off. The galaxy isn't about to be swallowed by cosmic egg adversary. We're just trucking for the moment. How do you approach sessions that are the in between? And you teased at this a little bit already as far as engaging your players, but whoa,
Yeah.
you made it. You've chartered a course. Is it? I guess to help supplement this question, do you as you're just jumping into things, is it always like, well, something's about to happen, or do you have smooth sailing sometimes where it's like, honestly, you did the math right, the jump worked?
I think in the void crawling I've been doing, a lot of times they do have like another mission at hand, which usually catches up to them at a certain point during the session. Right, like I said, I run these like kind of like 2.5 hour. If I run 3 hours, and there's something wrong, right? These kind of sessions where it's like something's going to happen and it's going to catch up to you one way or the other. And to do that, to help with that, with the Not Enough Scoundrels, the way that works is, you have to find stuff to ship, right?
Right.
And so you can find goods to ship, and then if you want to make a little bit of extra money, you get some contraband. And so there's that 1D100 table of contraband, and then there's the smuggler's rule, which is you don't look in the box, right? But do you look in the box?
You always
And I
look in
think
the
just
box.
putting that question on top of players has never not been fun, right? It's always like,
Oh,
don't look, no look. I'm gonna sneak, and one person sneaks out at night, and the other person just like in the hallway waiting for them to stop them, and then at the end they open it up, and it's just a bunch of cigarettes, or like it's a box that consumes people in some digital way, whatever. So
that's
it's
amazing. That
it's
just when everything's fine and then you just hear light noises from the hole and the hold, and you absolutely shouldn't be. That's the best.
like, what is
That's
this? Yeah, you mean, so I think that's the thing, is that like you can just, by asking these very like benign seeming questions, you can put a lot of paranoia into players sometimes, which is really funny, especially if I mean, maybe it's just funny for me, I'm a sadistic motherfucker, but like, I just think it's fun to like be like, okay, well, what's in there? You can take a look. Like, it might be dangerous, might not, but it's up to you.
yeah.
Most of the time, it's like, okay, but and
So
then some of
such a
those too, like I have like so yeah, so it just depends on what kind of contraband they have, and how much they might have to hide it from certain people. And then, like I said, I always have like something in like mind, like they're going to a place. Like recently, the setup was actually Meat Castle's here, right? Just going to
hey.
PRAD 1, right? And so like the setup was like, okay, they're gonna like start the mission for the mole in PRAD 1, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like at the end, there's always a mission. There's always something that's going to be starting, or there's just like a ton of mapping, and something might trigger in the middle of all of that.
That's so fun. One of my favorite questions to ask on Bark After Dark here, which still kicking myself that we didn't go for Between Two Red Ferns, but I think it's too obscure. We'll do it next year. We'll do it next year when more people know about Dog Eat Dog. The I'm just thinking about What's Lost. Man, what a wonderful title that could have been. Chris, speaking of two ferns, for you, what are some cultural touch points that really go into your work and are reflected here? I mean, obviously you got snapbacks and space truckers from Alien, but what else? What
Yeah.
else really flavors the soup here?
Yeah, I think like here, I really was thinking, the hive of scum and villainy. I'm just kind of like keeping in this mind, and really, if you want to like see a good look at like a lot of these touch points, I have that tournament I'm doing with my polls on Backerkit. I'm
That's
doing like a
right.
Mosh Madness, and it has like tons of so many. I crowdsourced that too, so I asked backers, and I asked people on Reddit and stuff like, hey, what are some other people? So there's like 32 like individual characters on that list. But one, other than like the real life like trucker stuff I told you about earlier, is manga series, Planet. I don't know if this is called just Planets or Planet Tests. I don't know what the pronunciation is there.
Hmm.
But it's Makoto Yukimura for like a 3-tome manga about people who were clean up space debris in like low Earth orbit, or in, I guess it's in lunar orbit too. And that's just a really shitty, scary job where like any moment, like debris can just kill you,
That's
right? And you have to like
terrible.
track this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. But it's just like space trucker, where it's a space work,
Hmm.
right? Which is what people in Mothership are going to be doing. Is this like, hey, like, yeah, you're just traveling. You're just traveling. You're not in like the USS Enterprise, brother. Like this is this
Hmm.
is like a tin can that you could get
Just
fucked with very
welders looking
easily.
for a
Like, no,
gig. Yeah.
yeah, you have to. This is going to be tough work. This is going to be a dangerous situation. I think that getting that vibe of like, blue collar sci-fi is really important, and that manga series was really really helpful for just kind of like thinking about all those little problems and like really visual, at least for me as a writer, visualizing that danger as I was
Sure.
going through this.
Did you have the
um,
pleasure of watching Scavenger's Reign?
yeah, yeah. Scavenger's Reigns, a
Exquisite.
very good one too, very much.
What, yeah, everything about it. And I think that it does such a good job of combining both worlds, right? You have like some main character action with this like colony ship, but then halfway through, without spoiling almost anything, I think you've got some scavs that pop up, and seeing
Hmm.
them be a pivotal part of the show is
Yeah.
and truly just blue collar losers is I think so
Hmm.
important to the tone that sets it apart from the D&D-ness of the role-playing scene out there. So here's a question
Yeah.
for you that's super mundane here on this sexy live stream. How in the Monopoly bank of dealing out space creds, how closely are you tracking cash flow for your players or in your West Marches style games and stuff?
Well, I'm following the salary rules that are
Mm-hmm.
given that's given in the I guess it's in the Warden's manual. I think no, it's also
Mm-hmm.
in the player's guide too. There's like
It's both,
a
yeah.
small bit, um, and so I'm following those salary rules for like this, and I'm giving jump bonuses when it's like off like the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever there's like advice in the modules, like this is how much they should get, I'm just like, all right, we're gonna go with that. So the first mission they did was Year of the Rat, and they smoked it, and they were rich. And I was like, all right, well, this could go one of two ways. Like either you can like work your ass off and be like pretty company little boys, right? Here we
Mm-hmm.
go, being nice and good, or you can like go the other way and attract the attention of a lot of bad people. And they were like, let's play it safe and be the good company boys. So now they're working for the evil company, the bastards. They
Nerds.
are they're the bad guys. Like they
Yeah,
don't realize it maybe yet, but they're the bad guys. Like it's
that's
awful.
so great.
But they're getting ready to run into some problems. But some people are already like it's kind of like split up. I'm gonna have to invite some more GMs to this or something because it's kind of getting untenable now. But there's
Mm.
some people who are going off to Black Star Station who are like have to pay off some debts to like, and then yeah, and then
Good
other
luck.
people are like, wait, there's a pirate. Wait, there's a pirate like secret place. Maybe we should go to the pirates. I'm like, man, the pirates are gonna fucking hate you guys. You guys are company
Pirates
boys. It's
suck.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
speaking of pirates, um, also working on Devil's Due too, which is that big space pirate book. Do you having somebody on for Devil's Due?
Yeah, I think so. I'd have to check when that's happening, but I think it might be as soon as next week when we're talking Devil's Due.
It's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, you should pop back in if you're bored. It's what I hadn't planned. I was actually planning on asking a totally different question. Toothada, hey buddy, says in the chat, any ship to ship combat interaction in Not Enough Scoundrels.
And Not Enough Scoundrels, basically, we're going to be following the rules that are in the Shipbreakers Toolkit. So you do have like each ship is fully statted out, so you have everything that you need if you do get into this horrible, catastrophic situation, which my players have so far been smart about not getting into. I've had to actually be
Totally.
like, okay, I need some friends to like come in and like do some like ship like battles just to like test it out. Can we come do this? Because every time I try to get people on this ship stuff, they're like, no, forget it, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Which is the smart move. But so each thing is statted out. Each ship has like either a new ship upgrade or like a new ship weapon. So there's new weapons and upgrades that are in there
Cool.
too. So there's patrol runabout. That's the space cop one. It's just a little guy, but with some guns. And then there's the big guy, the heavy fire cruiser, the Hammerhead, which is like a one of a kind, like fuck you in particular spaceship, which probably shouldn't exist, but it does anyway. And that's the one that comes after you if you really start screwing things up. Like, and this is the guy who's like, yeah, you cannot take this down without like being an inside job. Like
The white
this is
whale.
not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
Which I hope people do.
Right. That's the whole thing. Oh,
yeah.
I'm always so intimidated by ship-to-ship combat because of just like it's fast and it's ugly and it's over. It's you know I guess it depends on how you like to play your universe and stuff. I'm a huge fan of like, oh yeah, the laser was fired 3 days ago. The just from like whoosh, suddenly you're just ripped in half. Ugh, horrifying stuff.
I love how they did that. I wonder if like they read any CJ Cherry, because there's some really awesome like ship fighting stuff. There's a book called Hellburner by CJ Cherry with an H.
Writing that down.
And it's all about like the war. It's called the Company Wars, like in the books. So like, I mean, I figure Sean or somebody on that team has read those. Cool. Because it's very specifically how it works as well in those books. It's very, very interesting.
You know, what I fantasize about, I am such a fan of the Firefly franchise, I have the Serenity film. I love the Reaver fleet, just like melee combat ships, like where their whole thing is just smash the ship into your ship. That's the move. There are no other moves. It's just get on there and start going like this. And you don't find that in video games. It's a hard itch to scratch, but here in Mothership, yeah, hop on board. Start. Oh, one thing.
Way to do it right. So.
Yeah, it's I am so attention deficit tonight. At least it isn't Wizard of the Coast Spelljammer ship combat. That's absolutely right, Monsieur Arnov, 1991. Whew. Goodness. Great work, chat. Keep asking questions because these are going really, really well. But Chris, I've been running my gosh darn mouth. What do you want to talk about tonight? I'm a good host.
Yeah, well, here, let me talk a little bit about some of the stuff, I guess, that I'm working on.
Sure,
I'm doing, of course, my big project, Not Enough Scoundrels, as part of like 5 Million Worlds Press, which is just me. I don't know. I thought it sounded cool.
5 Million Worlds, one Chris.
Yeah, 5 Million Worlds, just one mine. Which one, Chris? So I have that one that I'm making. I'm also working on Devil's Due, which is the space pirate book, right? The big chonker guy. 10 space pirate crews, like a whole planet with like 10 named locations, and then lots of stuff and hooks in there. I think there's 7 or 8 adventures in total, and then as well some tables in the back. The one I wrote is called No Prey, No Pay, which is basically a table to roll to find out what ship you're going to raid, right? And
that rocks.
Mothership style. Some of those ships would be like, oh God, just take everything. And some of them, it's like they're being spoofed and it's actually like some sort of like military ship or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and each of those as well has like a specific crew, and like how does the crew react? What does the captain do? And what are the goods? Not just like, because everything has cargo, right? Just that's worth nothing. But what's the special cargo? What's the really good stuff that you might be able to get off of these guys? And it's been a blast working with all those people. There's like 20 plus people in total.
Bananas.
Putting in work into that guy. Yeah, it's going to be a big book. And then also Johnson Squared. I'm talking about a little bit earlier, working with that team, just doing some game development and editing, which is why I did the playtest of it too, right? Because I was playtesting it for feedback and stuff. So, and that was a lot of fun. And I hadn't seen any of the art until Mothership Month popped up. I was like, dang, Eric, you're holding back on me.
Yeah, the art has been a treat in and of itself, project to project. Ugh. Have you seen the video for the dose makes the poison?
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Blew us out of the water. I was like, look at this thing. This is awesome. I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
To see all those things come out. Yeah, Straight Arrows, cool. Too, is one that I keep my eyes on. The collage artwork.
Yeah.
Riveting stuff. You know who I haven't given enough love to, kind of in league with yours as far as like a grab bag of life stuff, is Survivors of the Core War, Space Penguins
Yeah.
NPC deck. Here's a question for you: do you see a synergy in how these NPCs and characters are exchanged from like the Mothership card decks to Survivors of the Core War to Scoundrels to Devil's Due, or is it you get a spreadsheet out, you try to keep track as best you can?
What do you mean by that? Like, do you think like there's yeah, I mean, I think that like, how do people like keep track of the NPCs like in
Sure,
their
yeah,
games? Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
across,
I'm not
yeah,
sure why not.
I don't know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, that's just the, the job of every GM, right? Is to figure out stuff. And I think the cards make it so much easier. There's also cards in like the Outer Rim Uprising project, that was like last year when we did the crowdfunding for. I think it's just a brilliant idea. It makes life easier. I have as well a copy of Longshot City, and I use those cards all the time whenever I play with my kid. Superhero stuff. And you're using those cards when you're playing with people, I feel like is super useful, just to kind of get people attached to it. It makes life easy if you just pull something out and put it down, which is kind of as well why I try to keep the D100 table and Not Enough Scoundrels to be like terse and just full of flavor. So like between the name and the quote, you feel like you have someone like very palpable on your hands to run just in the moment. So I think that the synergy there is that it could all go together pretty easily, I guess.
Yeah, it was a
Synergy is a
dumb
very
question.
corporate
I
word. I
agree.
know.
Yeah, but here's a fun follow up. You run oodles of games, and here's one thing. Now, maybe it's because I have like a really theatrical wardening style and try to make like characters just all sorts of flavors and stuff. What is your approach while wardening to creating memorable NPCs? And do you have any like rules of thumb or best practices when you're like, okay, the players walk into a room and there were 5 NPCs in there, or do you just avoid those situations? How do you streamline that workflow?
I guess like the first thing is that I run a lot of modules. So in a lot of cases, the modules will do that work for you ahead of time, so where they're
Right.
not going to overload people or players right off the bat. Secondly, I do try to keep like some like really try to pay attention to those like behaviors, right? So someone's kind of small and talking down, he's just a little bit tired, doesn't want to talk to you. The person's like a little bit irritated, and we do this on video, and so I'm always kind of trying to do a little bit, of this, and yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. This package, it'll go through. It'll go through. I promise, right? And so like, of course, I'm not going to trust that guy, right?
Right.
So like,
He's
it's just
itchy.
yeah, it just matters. It just depends on like I guess like I really do depend a lot on what the writers give, and I think it is harder when there isn't that information there. Like some of the standouts for NPC writers that I really appreciate have been Joel Hines. Like it's very easy to get a grasp of those characters. Stella Condry, like those NPCs are always like. There's one that she wrote for Queen and Company that has like ticks. So like a little thing that the character does. I don't know if I had seen
Cool.
that before, and I was just like, this is perfect because there's like 10 of them, and it's like a sort of like mystery kind of pamphlet. At least that's the way it played, which is actually, when you read it, maybe it doesn't feel like it's a mystery, but it's the way it played at my table. It worked out really well that way. But and yeah, there's lots of people. Lots of people are really good at this about like making sure that there's a very palpable NPC, right? So that the warden or the GM, can really take that and run with it easily. Because when it's not there, I guess is when you feel it more.
Right.
And I guess that, at this point, I've been running so many games, I'll know that, like, okay, what's this person up to? Like, then I'll have to think about it a few seconds, which most of the time I don't actually have a lot of time to think about. So most of the time I'm just running this straight from the book. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I'll have to figure it out as I go. But
Do
yeah,
you run
just
into
trying to
situations?
give.
where these NPCs are required to talk to each other in scene with the player. Like, like inevitably you'll
Yeah,
have one or two people in a room where they're like, well, they really need to interact. How do you play that out?
yeah. I usually just describe what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, so these people are talking about this, and this is what they're saying. Because I'm not really a big fan of like acting by myself.
Right, it's insane.
Right. So yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna do like, yeah, this is what they're talking about. So like, we come into the scene, you ask them this question. I was like, well, this person doesn't know, but then they have a conversation, and then this is what they say, right?
Mm,
As I'll do that a lot too, even as a player. I'll speak like in the third person, be like, well, this character,
right.
um, my character would actually kind of can be acting like this is weird, not really sure how to do this, and maybe like make this kind of suggestion. And I think that's really essential too, for running like a 2 hour game.
Yeah.
Is being like, okay, just kind of streamlining this. Like for the introductions for important NPCs, you have to do the bit because it's fun, at least for me personally, and it makes an impression for the character, for the players. And then when it comes down to like summarizing, you have to at some point. So I think that's a perfect example when to do it is when there's multiple NPCs in a room that need to like figure something out on their own.
I love that. It's very much like in Mothership, one of the core tenets being not everything needs to be a role. In the same way, I think not everything needs to be a scene. Just kind of give them the
Yeah.
cliff notes there, and you can cut to the montage of suiting up and doing all that stuff, which is,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the juice is that we want to get loose, right?
the loose juice.
Is the players? Yeah, we want the players to make interesting decisions, right? And so
Right.
I think by trying to streamline that interesting decision and getting to that point as soon as you can in the session is yeah, as the loose juice sits. I don't know where that came from, but the loose juice, I like it. It rhymes.
Yeah. Hashtag loose juice. Bryce McReynolds says, "I have been summoned again, LOL," but I'm not sure what you're talking about there, bud. That's exciting. Well, Chris, here we are, just the two of us on the internet.
Yeah. Just hanging out and talking about games. It's
Oh,
fun
I haven't
time.
even asked you about stretch goals. Is
Oh
that one
yeah.
that we left alone?
Yeah.
No, you've got some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got quite a few, and they've all been hit except for one. Just got the one big one that's left. So yeah, for this one, the everyone who gets a physical version gets 2 stickers, right? The stickers of the 2 ships that are the art is done for now, which is the Mega Freighter and the Outpost Resupply. They'll be like guys about like this big or so, and so those are little fun goodies that come with it. Things that everybody gets is that I was like, oh, I can cram this all into 28 pages if I try really hard. But I was like, maybe I'll put a stretch goal for 4 more pages. That'd be nice to be able to have a little bit of breathing room,
Right.
which was hit. So now it's gone up from 28 to 32 pages, and I can go, whew, okay, just loosen this corset a little bit. I'm still wearing the corset, but
Right.
just
That's
a little
important.
bit looser, right? Um, and then as well, the illustrations got 9 illustrations from Noise for that. And then one thing that's really cool is there are the spaceship deck plan cards. So I actually have some like little
Those are cool.
guys to show. So
Yeah.
this is just kind of a size to show, right? So this is your standard poster. This is right. I'm from Alsace. This is bisous d'Alsace, kisses from Alsace.
Kind of hold it in front of your
And so
face.
this is yeah, like this.
There you go.
Right,
Beautiful.
here we go. And so this was the normal size of
Yeah.
a normal size postcard, which is a 4x6, and then I'm being upgraded to these like 5x7 size. And this is art from Perplexing Ruins. It's amazing. You always do amazing stuff.
Cool.
Perplexing Ruins. Yeah, it's great stuff. And so they'll all be this big, and they'll be double-sided. So each side will have a deck plan of one of the 8 ship types. And again, like I was saying earlier, for the NPC cards, it's nice to have these things on hand. And one of the things that really facilitates, making choices is having a map, right?
Right.
So whether this is a ship that belongs to the players or that they're employed upon or whatever, or if it's a derelict that people find, throwing that out and be like, okay, this is what it looks like. Where do you want to go? And having that on, everyone pass it around, like, oh, this is neat.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So having those on hand, I think, is going to really up the utility of those deck plans for the players,
Cool.
right? Because they're all in the books too, with all the lines that come out of them and stuff. So it should be pretty. It should still be useful even without, but I think it does give that extra pizzazz at the table, which is why it's the deluxe, right? The deluxe scoundrels, getting the cards and the patch too. The patch comes with the
And
deluxe
the
as well.
patch. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
of course.
Yeah, at a 3/4 of the way through the event, this is a great time to say, hey, check out Not Enough Scoundrels down in the description below. Also, Chris has been doing oodles of work on Devil's Due, which I am now realizing is the one I was describing with the manuscript, is the one that you could wallop an infant and badminton.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah. Had it totally backwards. Not Enough Scoundrels, regular sized. Devil's Due, Leviathan class. It is big, but please check that out and help them reach those stretch goals. And wouldn't you believe Dog Eat Dog is only like 3K away from doubling down on dogs. We're offering 13 unique horrors in our book right now, but help us cross that threshold. I say that now. I'm pretty sure everybody in this chat is a third-party publisher, and so hey, thanks for being here. Y'all are the best. But for those of you watching this after the stream, check it out because we are so close to creating 10 more deeply unique horrors for Dog Eat Dog, and don't be shy. Get in there. Cause further havoc on your bank accounts here during Mothership Month. I can just hear the screams of so many people's significant others as they're like, you spent what on those first 2 days of all these things? But we can't help ourselves. There's so many amazing things going on. Yeah. I digress.
Yeah. I have a question for you about Dog Eat Dog, actually.
What?
If you may allow me,
I'll tolerate
to
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as you may have seen, you've been posting Dog Eat Dog, and I've been putting on Fellow Man We Pray everywhere. So, like, is the offspring like a part of the influence of this?
It was absolutely on the soundtrack. As far as like while I was just working on designing the thing, they're in there for sure. It hasn't. There are so many dog references in this blackened world culturally, and so it didn't even occur to me to mention it in the thing. But I do love that we've had a social media call and response whenever I say something. Ultimately, those offspring lyrics just pop right back in.
That lives deep in my brain. That song.
Yeah, I'm ashamed that like the foremost touch point is the Baha Men song, but we don't have to talk about that. That's the
no.
Yeah,
but no, I mean the Dog Eat actually the name of that song is Genocide. It's not even Dog Eat Dog.
No, yeah, it's just
yeah from Smash. I remember that 8 years old. My mom playing the cassette all the dang time.
I wasn't allowed to listen to it until I was like 15, and then I was like, "What is this?" So wild. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was 8 years old. My mom was playing. I grew up on like Metallica and Soundgarden and Offspring and all this stuff. So yeah, that's why I have such a bad motor mouth. I always been cursing too much. It's her fault. I blame her for everything.
It's not mom. It's Alice in Chains. They're the ones to blame.
Okay. It is. All right. Mm-hmm. It is. Man in the Box. That should be a module.
D Nivs says, "Man in the Box is a fantastic module." Do that. The D Nivs heart-shaped box. That's already a great short story. Let's make it a thing. Will the deck plans be available in a somewhat larger printable form, like 9x11 even?
Yeah. So that's Yeah, for sure. Look, so that's one thing too that everyone who backs, and no matter what level, as long as you're getting the zine, you will get the digital assets too, and the digital assets will include printable versions, right? So I don't want people to feel excluded. It really is that like deluxe level of like, okay, you have this card, it's printed, on like 14 point, like matte stock, so passing around. It's really kind of like that, like kind of swag level. So everyone who does back, and this is in the page too, it talks about with the digital assets. Everyone does get those digital assets too. There'll be tokens for the NPCs and all that kind of stuff. I always feel like it's really important. I mean, especially probably because I play online all the time. I'm not someone who uses a lot of tokens, but I will use like, throw like art at my players and that kind of stuff. And so I do want to be sure to include all that stuff, all those digital assets for folk who are playing online, because such a huge part of the community does play online. Or, if they want to print it off at home, and, I got a crappy little printer behind me too. I do the same thing sometimes as well. So like, I think that it's important to, provide all that. So
Reasonable.
yeah, reasonable stuff. It's a pretty I don't know, like it's a very like community oriented hobby. We're all
Right.
doing this to have fun, and like if I'm going to be writing something, I want all that stuff to be available for someone to maximize their fun. And I have it anyway. It's not like it's going to take me like maybe half an hour of work, unless I get really crazy with the borders of the token, which I've done sometimes. I'm like, oh, maybe if I did that for bio drones, where I made like these meaty rings to go around
That's
the
right.
outside. That looked
I
just
forgot about the
disgusting.
meat rings. They were awful.
It's so
What were you
disgusting.
thinking?
So
Yeah.
it was fun. I was like, what am I doing? Someone's gonna appreciate this somewhere, maybe. But it's just to make it a little extra fun, a little bit extra gross, a little extra, a little extra theater for our fun times,
Beef
So
rings. Yeah, bio
I love the
drones and
beef.
cryo
They're so
clones,
gross.
which I think is widely available on the internet if you just even give it a cursory Google or head to
Ooh.
5 million worlds,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah, the
No,
PDF is. Yeah, the PDF
the
is.
PDF.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's getting
Yeah.
it's getting there. It's getting there. So
Speaking of community resources, we did a poll for who is the goodest boy, but as a publisher of Dog Eat Dog, when you're thinking about science fiction and you're thinking about pups, what comes to mind for you? Who's your champion of choice in our Smash Brothers style tourney?
Um, well, when I think of dogs and I think of science fiction, my first thought is City by Clifford Seamack, which is a book about dogs in the
This is
future who
news to
are
me.
trying to reestablish the history of humanity, because they're dogs that
What?
can talk,
Googling
but
this.
there's no humans. There's no humans anymore. And so they're like telling the story of man, which is like this mythic creature that existed before dogs did, or maybe dogs existed at the same time as them. And it's like most of the story is not actually about dogs. Most of it's about like how humans invented robots and like other transhumans, and then all the humans were gone, right? Through all sorts of weird transhuman events, right?
Cool.
Um, and it's a wild book. That's my
This is how
first
it made
thought
it
when I
into
think of dogs.
Animorphs. Did you read those as a child?
I didn't. No, I missed. I was on
And
the
this
Goosebumps train personally.
I know you're out there, Animorphs fans, but those covers, you can't pass them up. You have to just wonder what everyone was excited about Photoshop. It was the '90s, but
Yeah.
there's a race of androids who are servitors of an extinct dog people, and they were like these benign alien presences that had like a sophisticated civilization and then were hunted down across the galaxy. So only their androids remain, and they're like their dog form. And so the Andalites distilled, this is what they're called, distilled what was left of their overlords into dogs on our planet. And so like just like they found wolves and like kind of fused the ideas. And created like the first dog, and I was like, "This is such an." But seeing now that Clifford the Big Red author had made City in the '50s, that's K.A. Applegate absolutely read that book in order to get there. So that's a cognitive leap I'm making all on my own. Good for Cameron.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Hey, there might be some literary evidence to back that up. You never know. You can look into it a little bit more. But
It makes
I did that
sense
in a
because
past life.
well, their whole thing is about like pining for a culture that was lost and viewing like the trajectory of man and beast, and so it checks out. It's cool. It's great.
Yeah, it
This
definitely
wasn't
does. Yeah.
supposed to be an Animorphs plug, but I think that's the real takeaway
Man.
from the end of this. We have
You want
5
to talk
minutes
about science
left.
fiction?
Yeah, honestly, I would love to have just like a coffee hour where we just talk about sci-fi books. That would be
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
absolute delight. Um,
Yeah.
If you have any questions, smoke them while you got them here in the chat. Y'all have been fantastic so far. As we wind things down, since I'm with such a seasoned warden here, I would love to talk about how you wind down when you're running sessions and things. What are your favorite ways to end a session, and what, if you use safety tools, or what sort of human approaches you have to making sure everyone's having a great time even at the end of the game.
Yeah, well, I definitely have safety tools. I've been using the GM checklist. I forget exactly the GM consent checklist
The ubiquitous
quite
GM consent
extensively.
checklist. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been using that, and then just kind of reiterating the lines and veils like before sessions. And the past couple months, I've been playing with the same players over and over, so we don't really need to go over them very much. Um, but I do tend to do that, especially new players. Just set down the lines and veils, and invite people to add some more. If it's going to be like something like a bigger thing, then I might ask people ahead of time, and just that way, it's not, the onus isn't on someone to be like, actually, I don't want to talk about, because sometimes people feel
Right.
pressured for some
Get out
reason
here.
about it, and I don't want. Yeah, and I don't want people to feel bad about not wanting to do something in a game. We're here
Totally.
for fun, and I don't want to push any buttons. Um, I want to push buttons in fun ways, right? So that's when I get to. I want to get to like the tense. I want to get to the fun stuff, so we can actually have a good time of all this freaky stuff, which is um, it's freaky. Some things get really dark in these modules,
Yeah.
so. But like as far as winding down, like. Um, I guess they either run or they die. So like it's not going to be. I mean, sometimes that's not true. I have players who are extremely lucky sometimes
Yes.
too. So I think what I do like the super corny, and that was dog eat dog, at the end or whatever,
Right.
just kind of thank you for playing.
Family.
Just that kind of. Yeah, is this sort of
Right.
really not really kind of creepy, Tales from the Crypt, kind of vibe,
Sure. Yeah.
just kind of to goofball out. So
That's reasonable. I sometimes people forget horror doesn't equal trauma. Absolutely agree, D Nibs. Excellent
right,
contribution there. Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's fun. One of my favorite things to do is just kick back and because if we did our jobs right as wardens, then I find the players have plenty to talk about after you fade to black and go to the credits of that episode, because they're like, and then you threw the pulse rifle at him because you were out of ammo, and they're like, I know, and he was made out of chocolate, and just crazy
yeah.
things happen. Oh, hey Gina, did you just pop in the chat 3 minutes before we were about to wipe out? This is so exciting. Hey girl, welcome to the chat. Dear friend of mine, Chris, who I don't know if you've had the pleasure of crit award winning actual play performer, Gina Susanna of God Killer Balance, and maybe a future season of the Panic Table. Who knows? Who knows what's going
Ooh,
on over there?
ooh.
What a classy way to end the session. What is your longest survived player's high score? Is that a valid question?
Oh yeah, I've got a player who sent somebody to military training. So the game I started, the Odin Rim Marches game, started in January.
Oh, you use the
We had
rules
a
as
little
written
break.
military training.
Yeah. So they went away for
Cool.
6 years, and they
Awesome.
had just come back. Right. So and they were playing another player in between. Um, because it's like outer rim marches, there's a lot of people come and people go, and a player will be around for a certain amount of time. I think though that Plutonium, who's an android, is up to I gotta be at least 10 sessions. At least.
Wow.
Um this is the super duper lucky player. It's actually I've played a lot of games with this person, and they are always just super lucky in every game. It's just this weird trait that they have, like a reality. I don't know, the reality bending trait, but
Sure.
lucky, but also making smart decisions and very very cognizant about being equipped as they're going in, knowing when to pull out of a situation as well. I think that's really vital. And Mothership is being, if you want a character to survive, is being like, all right, time to cut our losses. Let's go.
Yeah. You drop the solve. You drop
Nope.
the save. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. They
And
almost
it
got
just
served
it's
up, and but yeah, several times almost completely died, but was able to like get out thanks to help of of other players and just luck.
wait,
Sometimes
wait, you're
that's all it
telling me
takes.
that plutonium is alive to this day?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You got to do
Plutonium's
something
still
about
kicking.
that, Chris.
Hey, look, I've been trying for a long time, so it's been
My
11
friend,
months. So
it has been such a pleasure to talk about Not Enough Scoundrels, which is linked in the description below. Check it out. Help them reach those stretch goals. Stop by Backerkit and see what's going on with Dog Eat Dog. Congratulations for, at least the last time I checked, being on the front page of Backerkit. Chris, good
yeah,
work. Atta boy. I cannot wait to have another conversation with you. You've been an absolute delight. And friends, thank you for showing up. We feel a rabid sense of affection for each of you and are foaming at the mouth to interact with each of you even more. This has been Bark After Dark. Thank you and good night.
good night.
Doot, doot, doot. Usually they hit the button by now. Let's find out. Maybe
Oh.
I have the power. Awkward. Okay, hold on. Let's take it one more time. It's absolutely going to work this time.
Oh.
Let's say thank you and good night.
Yeah.
Oh, it put his back on.
Yep.